Hi everybody on this disgusting Thursday, rainy, gross afternoon. Wanted to speak to you about boundaries for a second. I have a lot of patients who come to me and a lot of their difficulties stem from difficulty setting boundaries with difficult people in their life. And I work really hard on getting them to shift gears and shift behaviors and shift patterns. One of the things that ends up happening though is they're the one in my office, not their family members. So they work really hard on trying to change their behaviors, change their responses to the people around them, with the goal being for them to walk away from the situation feeling better about it, not to change the other person's behavior. And the thing that always happens is they will make these changes and they will, work on it, let's say, until the next time I see them. And they come into my office, and other than it being really difficult because they're the only ones in the dynamic that's making the change, and I've talked about this before, but you can't change somebody else's behavior, but you can change how you respond to their behavior, therefore throwing the pattern off balance, forcing the other person to have to respond differently. They may not be aware that you're doing that, but it's a very powerful thing when you change your response to somebody else, and as a result, you kind of manipulate them into changing. But I want to talk to you about the other aspect of this that becomes super difficult for people. And I warn my patients about this, that when you're making behavior changes, I warn my patients about this, that when they make these behavior changes, it's super common for people around them to tell them that they're being selfish, or that they've changed and not for the best, or that they're being obnoxious, or they're being bitchy, or they're being assholes. I mean, you name it, it's been said. I'm not going to say all the time, but I would say majority of the time, the reason why that's being told to them is because you have now made everybody in your system uncomfortable, because you have changed your pattern, which throws off the entire system. Parents, spouses, children, everybody's used to a certain pattern within the system, and when you shift, you throw everybody off balance. You completely, so you kind of throw everything on its head. And if you kind of look at the person changing as I'm cold. If you look at the person changing as kind of the pendulum, and they make the change, they make the change, they make the change, the people around them are going to try their hardest to push them back to the status quo, because that's where everybody is comfortable in the system. Even though it's not healthy, and even though it could be better, everybody wants to just stay the same, because change is super difficult, especially if you're not the one working on the change. So don't be surprised when you start to make behavior changes if the people around you start to tell you that you're acting different, and not necessarily in a good way. Stay strong, keep your boundaries, keep doing what you're doing, because eventually what's going to happen, hopefully, is that the people around you will start to shift, and that shift will become more permanent rather than temporary. So just a heads up that it's hard to do. People will push back routinely, not because they don't like you or what you're doing, but because they notice that things are off and they feel uncomfortable. They don't necessarily know why. It's easy for them to tell you you've changed, but really what it is they're now uncomfortable and they're being forced to change, even if they don't realize it. So just a heads up for that, and I hope you enjoy this disgusting Thursday afternoon.